All right, starting off today, this is 10th University. We created this podcast to find those rare people that are doing incredible things in the business world along with their real lives. And today we got a special guest, another photographer, videographer, marketing savant, motivational speaker in general, man of the people, no other than Mr. Cam.
Appreciate it. That intro was better than I could have did for myself, so I appreciate it.
That's what's up, man. So yeah, man, I feel like you're one of those people that's like multi-talented in a bunch of different areas. So I feel like we really got to pace ourselves. So this whole interview, I'm having in the back of my mind, pace, you know. So, but yeah, so like, I'm just curious though, what was the first thing that you started to do? Business, did you pick up the camera first? You started marketing first?
Yeah, so I don't want to go through my whole story because it might get boring, but in short, in high school, I started shooting music videos. So a friend of mine, he was a rapper. I wanted to be creative. I said, all right, I'll shoot some music videos for you. I turned that into also about middle school age. I started designing stuff on GIMP. So I became a graphic designer. So I really got in my creative bag when I was in school. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until I got to college though and I needed to make some money that I had to rely on, all right, what are the things that I know how to do to make me some money real quick? I couldn't get a job and I was really too busy to even have a job, but I still needed to pay for my life. So I said, all right, I'm gonna start designing flyers. I'm gonna start shooting music videos again. And so that's really what started everything for me, because when I was able to provide a service to people and they actually paid me for it, they gave me the confidence to say, all right, let me explore some other stuff. So I got a ton of other businesses I've had. Many have failed. Some have been successful since then, but that's pretty much how I started. Like just taking inventory of kind of the skill set that I had and figured out how to make some money with it.
That's big on taking action, because I see a lot of people. I feel like I've seen so many people that have had brilliant talent, brilliant ideas, but they forget that first step. And so like I've gotten to the point where like I would refer people like books or stuff like that, and they say I read the book in 10 days, you know, and I'm like, you know, that's awesome, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you further than me, because I done paced this book, you know, for 3 months, and I'm only halfway in there, you know. So but yeah, so talking about like action, right? So when did the action start with the marketing side of your brain?
So as you can probably imagine, when you're making dope stuff, like I'm making a dope video and I think it's amazing, and then I give it to a client and then they post it on Instagram and it's just kind of, it dies that same day. And now you spent all these hours filming, all these hours editing, creating, you excited about it. It's a big deal. You give it to the client and then they post it. They get some likes, maybe some comments, but then that piece of video just dies. I hated that feeling. Like I'm a true creative person. Right. So I want my work to live on. And I tried to make work that I felt would live on, but it just didn't. And so I just started taking inventory of, okay, well, how does work start to live on? And that's what kind of got me into the mindset of, okay, it's not just making something interesting. How do you create a full and robust campaign around it? How do you get other people involved in that process to make sure that this has a shelf life that's longer than one day? And so that's really where that came from. Just me being a creative person, being frustrated with all this work I had, kind of just falling into somebody's Instagram feed and never being seen again. And so that was the spark for me. And so what that looked like was, okay, I don't want to just offer video services, or I don't want to just offer design services. Let me try to be kind of full service marketing. And so I'll come up with a strategy for how we going to roll the content out. I'm going to help you create the content itself. When it's up, I'll post it for you. I'll do the community engagement. I'll do the commenting and the liking and the sharing and making sure I'm sending it to people in DMs. Like I'm doing all that. Wow. And I'll help you on the back end and say, okay, here's the analytics. Here's how it performed. Here's some little tweaks that we can make. And obviously this wasn't like an immediate thing. Like this took refinement and like really, I'll say a couple years of just figuring out what to actually do. But I got to a place where, okay, I was no longer just creating interesting things. I was creating campaigns that had a longer shelf life than just that one day.
Man, that's awesome, man. And I can see that in your personality too. Just from like the simple conversations we have, it's like, it's not enough to just say like, you know, like say we're just talking about going to the grocery store. A conversation with you might be like, well, what were you thinking when you going to the grocery store? You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
It's always that second level thinking. It's like, well, I just wanted produce. Like, okay, why? I'm like, because I'm trying to get in better shape. Okay, well, what's your plan to get there? You know what I'm saying? It's
We're gonna get down to the root.
Man, that's what I'm saying, man. So I can see that in your work too, man. So it's like that's powerful, man. That detail. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So what about videography and photography?
Yeah, I can go into that. So like I said, in high school, I really started shooting music videos. Like most people, it's the easiest, low hanging fruit. Everybody a rapper. Everybody want to do music. But I wanted to start doing some more commercial work. Obviously, I was looking at, okay, I can get a bigger bag. I can work on bigger campaigns. I can have a team finally. And so I just started leveraging my music videos to create a reel. So anyone out there, if you are starting a videographer, you starting any creative service, if you don't have some sort of sizzle reel, a narrative reel where you like piece all the pieces of your best work together and craft it into a story that it can be a minute to 2 minutes. I don't care. Just show your talent and show what you're capable of, and then leverage that to get more work. That's what I would recommend you do. So don't just, when people say, hey, send me some of your work, and then you send them 15 links, some on Google Drive, some in Dropbox, some, just consolidate it down into some sort of reel that's tailored to that industry that you want to work in. So for example, I had music videos, I had sports, I had just random stuff. But when I wanted to do more commercial work, that meant I had to go and find somebody that would let me do some commercial stuff.
When you say commercial work, are you talking about like doing a commercial for a business? Like what do you mean?
Yeah, so when I say commercial work, I mean working with companies, organizations. And so whether that's a commercial for their product, a commercial for their service, I started doing commercials for my college. I was a vendor with my school. And so when I wanted to do that, I couldn't just send them music videos I did. And so what that looked like was, hey, let me go to this juice bar that I just happened to meet the owner of that was at the school one day and say, hey, let me film a 60-second video for you for your juice bar. And then I go do it for a gym. And then I go do it for somebody else. And then I take those 3 pieces and I put them together. And now I have a health and fitness reel. And now I'm shopping that around to bigger gyms. I'm shopping that around to bigger juice bars and saying, hey, this is what I can do for your industry that's effective for the type of people that you want to come into your door. Yeah. Rather than just sending them random links to just any and everything I've done in the past.
Yeah, man, that's huge, man. Speaking about the marketing, man, like it's just so many different tactics. And I feel like the long-term thinkers are understanding, why am I doing this tactic? Right. Like I just seen like on Instagram, it was just it was something from music videos. Like say you have say you had this dope song or whatever, and you go to this like famous producer that's in Dallas, right? So basically it was just like create that good music video and market it to that specific area.
Yeah.
So it was just like little stuff like that. It was just like, oh, that's interesting. And I was like, okay, I can do that for boxing.
100%.
So I went to the free boxing event, filmed or whatever, and then I was like, okay, I can take this video and drop it right here, and drop it to the next one. But it's just so many tactics, and I'm just like, at what point do we have to sit down and be like, we need to go to a specialist?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, right? Marketing has always technically been like this, but it's never been more true than right now. In a world where everyone has access to a lot of information and a lot of options, I don't care if you're looking for a videographer, if you're looking for somebody that got beer oil, I don't care what you're looking for. There's so many options on social media and the internet. Okay. If you understand that, then also understand people don't have to work with you if they don't feel like you're a subject matter expert in that arena. Because not only are there subject matter experts, say boxing, for example, right? There's subject matter experts in boxing that will charge $10,000 for a video, and there's subject matter experts that will charge $1,000, and there's some that'll do it for free. But boxing videos is what they do. So why would they go to try to work with somebody who shoot music videos if they don't have to? They're gonna go right to the specialists. And so you can be a specialist in separate arenas, right? You don't have to just be a specialist in one thing, but it is to say when you're approaching these brands, you're approaching these companies, lead with the fact that you actually know the nuances of working in their industry. Right. Like what really does get a boxer excited about joining a new gym? What really does get an audience member that's viewing a fight excited to go see these 2 people fight versus those 2 people? Versus they could be doing something else on a Friday night. Yeah. Like, can you communicate that value through your work in a way that's compelling for that specific audience? That's how you have to approach everything now. Because again, everyone has so many options for what they could be doing and who they can choose to work with.
And you talked about like making that first start too. And I feel like into that industry, like get in, we'll just keep going with boxing, right? We'll say MMA, right? So the first thing that I was thinking, like, you know, get into the MMA, like I need to what music do they listen to? What videos do they listen to? What's the technique? So when I'm shooting the video, I can understand, oh, this is the technique you need to show. Because if somebody that's a fan of that, they're gonna know that, oh, that's really good.
100%. Those are nuances I was talking about.
Yeah, so I feel like it's just a part of it, just like honoring that craft too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big piece.
100%.
But yeah, let's talk about the meetup.
All right, let's talk about it.
Purchase Your Freedom meetup.
Purchase Your Freedom. So among the video work that I do a lot of other things. One of those things is about a year and a half ago, I started a small business meetup series. And believe it or not, I don't think I've ever shared this. The meetup started in December of 2022. Purchase Your Freedom started as an entity in 2020. So I had it for 2 years before I even turned it into a meetup series. But essentially what it is every single week here in Dallas, I bring entrepreneurs together. I don't care if you're in college and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, all the way up until we've had people who've exited their company for, 7 to 8 figures come and they just drop game and then leave. But people come together and it's kind of a meeting of the minds to say, what's working in business? What are you building? Oh, I'm building this. How can I help you? Can you help me? It's really a place for business of any stage to come together and understand who's building something in your backyard. And the reason I started doing that primarily was because as a person who wasn't a native to Dallas, I wanted to meet other business owners. Wow. And I wasn't always just able to go to networking events. And even when I went to them, I didn't always feel comfortable. And so I wanted to create my own environment that I could curate, that I could house the way I want to meet the type of business owners and connections that I wanted to meet. So that's how it started. But what it's also kind of turned into is it's really a way for me to be consistent in something and build something meaningful that's impactful. And so, it started selfishly as a way for me to grow my network. But what keeps me doing it every single week without missing is I'm seeing I'm having real impact on people from a business perspective and also just on a personal level, helping them find clarity in a way that I couldn't even expect it when I started. So.
Let's talk about consistency, man. That is so tough, man. And I say it's tough because like when people say making $1 million, that looks so far-fetched or whatever. 100%. But a smaller goal is just stay consistent for a year.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can do just so much just by hitting the same nail. And I learned that from sports. Yeah. Just showing up every day. Showing up, just tapping one little button every single day, and then just seeing how it grows. But yeah, about your consistency, like how tough was that for you?
Let me tell you something I know to be true. A messy action, and I'm coming up with this off the dome, so this is not something that I say all the time, but messy action will always beat structured stagnation. So whatever you're doing, start first and keep moving forward with it and stay consistent, because it's not a matter of if you'll make it, it's a matter of when. But you'll never make it if you stay stagnant. I look at it like when I first started this meetup, I had no clue what I really wanted it to turn into. Like I said, I really just wanted to grow my network. I didn't know what that would look like, though. I didn't know how I was going to get people there. I didn't know if they was going to have a good time. I didn't have a big format and how I wanted every minute by minute to go. I didn't have none of that. But one thing I knew is I'm going to host it. I'm going to post it on Eventbrite. I'm going to invite people, and I'm going to just keep showing up. And eventually somebody going to find this and say, this seems interesting, and we're going to have a great conversation.
That's interesting. So it didn't start off with like friends and family first, because I feel like that's something that, I ain't gonna say it's a mistake, but I feel like most startups or entrepreneurs, that's
100%. Look, again, I'm not from Dallas. So I knew people-ish, but
your co-workers.
Yeah, I didn't really know anybody. So I didn't have friends and family. Now, I did invite probably like 10 people that I knew. One person showed up.
Sound about right.
And that one person was somebody I had just met like 2 days prior at another networking event. So I really didn't even know him, but he just happened to show up. And it was just me and him. We sat on the couch at this coffee shop and just chopped it up for 2 hours. He ain't been back since. But the point is, like, I did try to invite people. I wanted to start that way, but that wasn't going to be how I was going to continue and sustain. was trying to wait on, people I knew. I had to find a way to, generate attention from people that I didn't know, which was my goal anyway. But the part about being consistent in that is I knew I would not achieve that if I wasn't consistent. Like if I just held to one meetup and just never did it again and allowed my confidence to just take a hit, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't have been able to leverage this opportunity the way I have for this year and a half. And so one of my biggest things is being consistent. And let me tell you also how this shows up. I ain't even planning to talk about this, but I've been hosting that meetup every single week again for a year and a half. Because I've been showing up, and look, I've moved further away from the meetup, but I kept it at the same place at the same time. Because I committed to showing up for my people, like in a real way. I'm talking about rain, sleet, or snow. I'm driving through ice storm. I'm still there, even if it's me and one other person. Even if I pull up and nobody else there, I'm there. Me choosing to commit to that, it really gave me just a different type of hunger to commit to other things.
Give you a different aura too.
100%. And so how that shows up is, okay, also at the beginning of the year, I started running races. I never did endurance sports before in my life. I'd always ran away from it. Like, I don't want to be running on the track. What I look like? I'm heavy. I get tired. I don't want to do that. But I'm like, dang, I do want to, take my health more seriously. Okay, let me figure out how to do that. But I didn't know where to drive that desire from. I didn't know where to drive that motivation, right? When I didn't want to. I'm using my meetup kind of as the foundation to say, okay, if I can show up for these people consistently, why can't I show up for myself in other ways? Right. And I set a goal at the beginning of the year to do 5Ks. I have my 4th 5K coming up in like 2 weeks. Right. I said I'm gonna do 5. I'm probably gonna do 7.
I was about to say at 4, you can put it on the resume now.
You know what I'm saying? At this point, I run. At this point, right? And I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. Like I said, I plan to do 5. I'm probably do 7 this year. So I'm even exceeding what I originally set out to do. But I wouldn't have had I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but I just wouldn't have known how to derive that motivation had I not seen it applied in another arena before.
It gives you momentum. 100%. Because I would say for me, I've always been the athlete, So like so the gym was like my safe haven of like, oh, I can build something. Yeah. Like growing up, I always felt like I was like a loser until I started playing basketball. Until I started getting good at it, and I was like, wow, I can be good at something. I just have to really go and get it.
100%. And
that kind of trickled to like, okay, well, I can learn school now. Because I always been, C+, D+. I was like, no, if I apply it, I can learn it. Yeah. And I was like, stand up. If I just put that same work ethic in this area and move it to another area, it can get me results.
100%. Success compounds. Once you see it in one arena, now you can apply to other things. And now when you don't feel like it, when the motivation not there, when like real life stuff happens.
Yeah.
Family stuff, car trouble, money problems, relationships, whatever, like real life happens, you understand how to draw the power from within to still show up the way that you need to show up. And it compounds. So it's moral of the story, it's worth it to start because you don't know how it'll continue to manifest through other parts of your life.
I'll tell you about the quote I had too, man. Like now, I live it, I preach it, because this is like the safe haven for me is to always start before you're ready.
100%.
Because if you feel like you're ready, if you feel like you have that emotion, like I'm ready right now, you would have already done it.
Look, let me tell you something. This for my introverts out there, right? Just the fact I'm doing this podcast is a testament to what we're talking about. When I say I'm an introvert, I mean that. Like even to this day. Here's the thing though. About probably like 6 years ago now, I spoke for the first time where I was like invited to speak. I spoke at an athletic banquet at my high school. And I really just put myself out there and say, I want to just start speaking because I feel like I have a lot of good information. And I really like mentoring the youth. So how do I do that? And so I just put a call out on Facebook, and then somebody from my school responded. So here this introvert standing up in front of a bunch of people who he doesn't know and is supposed to deliver a message that's impactful. I was scared shitless.
Wow. Was it like motivational? Like,
so these were seniors. So they were athletes, they were seniors going into the next stage of their life. Some of them going to play at the college level. Some of them, they just graduate, they got to figure life out. So what is something that you can give them to keep them going past high school sports? So it was a tall task because these are people who are high achievers. Like as an athlete, I mean, you get your awards, you got your ceremony, the night's all about you. Like I said, some getting D1 offers. And so I'm having to impart on them something that will kind of give them that motivation,
Connect to them,
and connect to them in a way that resonates. But again, I wasn't an athlete and having to do that. And so it was scary. And already I'm an introvert. But I wanted to figure out how to break out of my shell. And so I kind of just went like 2 feet deep and said, all right, let me figure this out on the biggest stage I can. But the reason I bring that up is because I was scared shitless, but I had every, like, minute by minute, I knew what I would say. I calculated what the crowd might react to. I'm talking about, I ran through this speech 100 times, like literally, because I was so nervous. I didn't want to leave room for any mess ups. That's how I started.
Wow.
I just gave a speech 2 weeks ago in front of small business owners and nonprofit leaders. And I spoke, that first one at the athletic banquet, I may have spoke for like 15 minutes. The one I did 2 weeks ago, I just spoke for 45 minutes off script.
Whoa.
I didn't have slides. I didn't have a plan for how I was going to speak to them. I just chose to show up and speak from the heart. So here's this introvert going from like meticulously having every minute dialed in, practiced, strategized for 15 minutes to now being able to speak for 45 minutes to an hour just off the cuff in front of strangers.
Well, there's a little back end to that. That's a subject matter like knowledge, like there's a little bit of that too.
But that speaks exactly to what I'm talking about. I had to continue to show up to learn everything I'm trying to teach so that I'm super confident when I communicate it.
Right.
That speaks to the consistency as well. Because here's what I find interesting. Like after people graduate school, they kind of stop learning, or like they may get a job and they may go through the motions, but they don't really work to continue to refine their craft. I never stop. I don't care how much marketing work I do. Like I'm always continuing to learn. And I'm not just learning it for myself. I'm learning it to be able to apply it to clients, to people I work with, to people I'm working with, to mentees that I have. And as a result, I know what I know so well that I'm able to go and set up and speak about it for a long time without any preparation.
Deep, man. I'm curious, man, because I'm a little similar to this, where I'm like, I feel like I'm always looking for motivation, And so like even when you mentioned like people after college, they stop learning, they think they know life or this or that, and I just knew in the back of my brain I refused to plateau at college. I just couldn't have that be the highest or the best or the end of my story. Like I just had to get to the next level. I feel like that's the motivation I'm driving off now. Like it just, what can I do to get to the next level outside of college, So do you find yourself like searching for motivation or just in the zone?
Not anymore. And make sure I understand your question correctly. Like to continue to try to improve upon myself, do I struggle finding motivation, or how do I find motivation?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like I feel like I started videography, started the comedy, moved to Dallas. Like my life has been shooting up really, really quick at a high pace. And I feel like my brain is still like, hey, anytime I'm slowing down a little bit, it's like, oh no, just keep going, keep, you know what I'm saying? The next level. Yeah. Like, so I feel like that's what's driving me. I'm curious, like, do you have that, or is it kind of, what's it like for you?
Yeah, I have somewhat of a chip on my shoulder. I moved to Dallas 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago this year, with nothing but the stuff that I could fit in my Jeep. I didn't have a job. I had a friend who stayed here. I stayed on his couch for about 4 months, and I just had to create a life from scratch. So part of my chip is understanding what it was like to sleep on my friend's couch and not have any prospects, didn't have friends, didn't date, I remember getting rejected from Whole Foods and Subway the same week. I'm talking about degree, got experience, couldn't get a job. So there's some of that. Chip comes from that. Some of the chip comes from, my first Thanksgiving in Dallas, I slept in my Jeep. And I didn't have enough money to get gas, so I couldn't leave my car running. So I'm just sleeping in the cold. Some of the chip comes from that. There's key moments that happen in my life where I absolutely have developed a chip on my shoulder. However, I will say I'm starting to transition from that driving me and more to designing an enriched life is driving me.
That's deep.
And here's what I mean by that. Like, I'm just in one of the most grateful moods in life that I've ever been in. And so with that, I've just come to understand it's a blessing to be here, bro. Like, and I don't even, this is not gonna get spiritual, but in a real way.
We can, but okay.
Like, I'm just looking around and it's people that I've grown up with that literally aren't here anymore. That's a weird feeling, like growing up with you. And I'm talking about not even just like everybody was into some BS. I mean, just like good people that life just happened to them and they just not here.
That's real.
Why wouldn't I take every single advantage I have to create a fulfilled life while I have the opportunity to? Like, I would be doing myself and the people around me a disservice. And so really, like, that continues to motivate me in a way that I, like, no chip on my shoulder could have. It's understanding, like, man, this stuff is finite for real. It's no use in waiting for life to happen to you. Like, I say this all the time. This is a quote I do say, is design a life you want to see. Like, we have the agency to literally say the people we want to live around, the people we want to interact with, the type of laws we want to pass in our neighborhood, in our hometown. Like, we have the ability to influence that. We don't have to be spectators to life. We can be participants. I will always and forever be a participant. And because I want to be a participant, that means I got to continue to show up. That means I got to continue to learn. That means I got to continue to be involved. That means I got to continue to explore new things that I just couldn't even have fathomed. Yo, I'm in pilot school right now.
Oh, man.
I don't know nobody in life that's a pilot. I'm learning to fly a plane. That just wasn't possible. Wow. But also, it has always been possible. Yeah. I just had to change my relationship to discovery and taking risk. And like I said, understanding, like, we got one shot, dog. I don't care. Whatever you believe, everybody believe we got one shot. So why not make the most of it while you got it?
It's deep, man. It's deep. It's deep. I wanted to talk about, you mentioned like lifestyle. And this is something that I literally wrote down. I was like, I guess, when you start getting consistent, you start building that momentum. Yeah. I was just like, man, I want the body. I want the clients I want, I want the relationship I want. Yeah. And I just started just taking steps towards all of those. And then eventually, I got to another side and I was like, what's the lifestyle that I would have if I had, say $100K more dollars? Yeah. And I thought about it, I was like, okay, I'd have to have one way to serve people or give back. Yeah. I'd have one way to make money and have one way to create. So what's your job?
Yeah, so I work in tourism. I'm a digital marketing manager. My literal job is to make Dallas look like an amazing destination to do business and to visit. And so I appeal primarily to business and leisure travelers to the city. What's interesting about that is the reason I joined this organization primarily is I wanted to be more involved in the city, for one, so understand what's going on, but also understand how events come to a city. Right? Like, people just assume your favorite artist, they might do a show in the city. Your favorite conference, they might just pop up at a convention center, but they don't really know what their sales process was like. They don't know how far in advance. Like, we're booking events out to 2030, 2032.
Wow.
And so you don't know that until you go behind the scenes and work in some of these organizations. And so what I would recommend everyone do is never take a job and you don't know why you're there. I know why I'm here, and I'm going to be here until I garner what I need to garner. And then I'm going to take that and leverage it to my next opportunity. I think everyone should be open and willing to do that. rather than just showing up every day and collecting a check. Like if you're gonna take a job, make sure you know what you're there for.
Yeah. And that's a different part of the brain too, because now you're not on autopilot. You
100%.
can't be on autopilot and you're actually, analyzing what's going on.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like we'll talk about that too. So
yeah.
I feel like most people are like, nothing wrong with it. I do it too, but most people are passively going through life. They say that, as you get older, time goes faster, this and that, but it doesn't. So I'm on Google. I'm like, what's the answer? What's the answer? Google says it's because you stop learning new things. You start doing new things. So it just zips by.
Yeah. And it's a science to that, right? Like I'm not a neuroscientist, but there's a science to that. As we get older, our brain is like literally a rubber band. So the elasticity of our brain decreases as we age. And so our capacity to take on new information decreases as we age unless we continue to stretch, unless we continue to work it. The saying you can't teach old dog new tricks, it's not an accidental thing. It's a real thing, right? And so you have to be intentional about it. Because again, once you get into a place of complacency, once you get on autopilot, and the longer you're on it, it gets harder to get off. So it's best not to get on it to begin with. Yeah.
I'm curious, do you do this too, where it's like, well, of course you do. You just how long you been doing the pilot? How long you been a pilot?
I started flight training last year.
Last year? Okay, yeah. Okay. I was just thinking, like, in my brain, there's like a bunch of like side missions. We'll say that, and like one of them is like, if I had time or whatever, I'm gonna learn Spanish. So that's in the back of my head. Like whenever I'm finished or I feel like, hey, I'm getting complacent, let's pick up that Duolingo.
100%. Spanish on my list too. It's one of those things though, like it's not enough just to say it. Like, I got it in my notes. I might tell a couple of people, that's what I'm looking to do. But like, until you purchase that book, until you show up to that office, until you sacrifice a piece of yourself, like that's what I tell people all the time. Cause I do free events. My meetup's free, but when it's free, a lot of people sign up.
Okay.
But if they don't come, they don't lose anything. There was no sacrifice. There was no exchange of value. So if they don't come, they don't come. I look at my goals the same way. If there's no sacrifice of value, if I don't have no skin in the game, what's going to hold me to completing that goal? My first 5K, the reason I ran it is because I went and signed up for the race and I paid that $75. And I knew I'm either going to train for this so I don't go out there and look stupid, or I'm going to lose my money because I don't show up. So what would I rather do? Yeah.
And that reminds me too, like just, like my job, my manager, like he was coaching me or whatever, like, hey, you need to do this, you need to learn how to do this. And at the end of it, I'm just like, even when he's coaching me, I'm coaching him how to coach me. I'm like, okay, so you told me all of this, so what's the immediate action I can do? Because if you just give me information without a solution, like I can't really do nothing with it, So basically I was like, all right, I heard all this. This is what I'm gonna do right now. So talking about that go-getter attitude.
Gotta have it. I always leave with action items. It ain't enough just to give somebody information. All right, what's your next step? Because people will forget. Again, life happens. I leave this conversation I'm having with these business owners. They get a call from their daughter. They got being bad at school. I got a blown tire. Something happened. Life happens. Now everything I just talked about for the last 50 minutes, gone.
Let me ask you this: out of if you spoke to 100 people, or 100 people came to your meetup, how many of them? What do we think percentage of them is actually gonna take action, or even that day?
Man. I'm gonna tell you something, man. Over the year and a half, I probably then came across over like 400 people. I can maybe count 7 who come consistently.
Okay.
Out of that 7 that come consistently, maybe half I've seen grow consistently.
Wow.
So again,
that's deep.
It's not enough just to get information. I give information till I'm blue in the face all the time for free. What are you losing by not taking information and doing something with it? What are you giving up? If that's not front of your mind, information for information's sake ain't helpful. Yeah. Even creating this space. Now, again, the reason I continue to do it is because I am seeing changes personally. Like maybe getting more clarification on their goals, what they want to accomplish, what type of person they want to be, what type of community they want to build. But when you're talking about just like progression in business, that's tough. Wow. I don't see a lot of that.
Wow.
Which is ironic from a business meetup. But again, information for information's sake isn't helpful. Like people need some sort of skin in the game to say, if you don't do this, this will happen, or you will lose out on this, to get them to actually take the action.
I feel like even now, like when I pitch an opportunity to someone, shout out to Navi Knees from season 1. They were the first person to tell me, because I didn't know I was like this. They were just like, my mentality when working with me, it's a feeling of either with you or without you, I'm still gonna do it, or I'm still gonna try. But I'm reaching out to you because I feel like we can help, or you can make me better, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's always been my mentality, and I always felt like, I'm an eyeball because, I'm gonna actually try it. I'm gonna actually do it,
I was gonna say, in my experience, that's the minority of people. Very few are self-motivated in that way. And that's not to say like the people who aren't motivated in that way can't be successful. It's just to say they require a different type of stimulus to be successful.
In closing, one thing we ask all our guests is what is one way that they help serve people? So for me, was creating this podcast, just having a way just to spread, information, and I feel like it hits different because it's coming from somebody that you see as a real person, I'm goofy, I'm laughing, you meet me out of here, I'm still gonna be me, the same person off camera and on camera, But one thing I want to know, like, what is one way that you think you help serve people or just make them better?
Yeah, man. Easily through the meetups. That's the easy answer. Showing up every week for people. We have the actual in-person meetups, but we also have a Discord where, I got courses on marketing, courses on sales. I got ebooks in there. Like, that's what I'm saying. Anything that you would need to go from like 0 to step 10, you can get for free by being in my ecosystem. How many people leverage it though? So what I am going to look at doing moving forward is figuring out a way to increase the efficacy of that, whether that's doing challenges within the group, doing some more in-person engagement with business owners and subject matter experts. I'm refining, and this goes to the point of not, wait until I'm ready. I could have waited until I figured all this out to start, but I would have never started. I let this natural progression happen. And so now I'm finally at a place where, okay, I've seen some results. I've gotten the data. Now let's figure out how to make this better and elevate this experience. So I'm at that stage right now, but I'm going to do some things for the engagement of the group to really try to increase that number of people that actually make a real change in their business. But yeah, the easy answer is through the meetup that I host every week.
Well, it's been a pleasure getting this meeting with you, man. This little mastermind.
Yeah, I love it.
Only 1 out of 10 make it in. We are out.